what's funny is when you're playing train as a kid, I think the first thing you would do if you were to make a sound was the chugga 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 choo choo, right? There's always a chugga chugga, there's always a choo choo. Right now, I'm hearing a lot of the chugga chugga chuggas, but I don't really hear that often the toot toots. Now, from time to time, I think you do hear the toot toot or the choo choo, but I don't think it's quite as much as you used to hear it before 1927. So as the train was essentially the lifeline to the lakeshore at that time in the early 20th century, come and take the train down to Valois, live there, and you've only got an X amount of minutes to go into town. As people began to come and settle into the nice, tranquil, suburban landscape of what was the town of Pointe-Claire by the 1910s and early 20s, they didn't like the loud sounds of the urban environment here. So on December 5th, 1927, there was a meeting with the town council for the purpose of drawing up a new bylaw. And that bylaw was for the restriction of train whistles. The citizens from Valois and Lakeside mostly had been complaining to council that these whistles are going on ad nauseum and they needed to stop once they reached the town borders starting in Valois. Thus, the reason why today, I believe, you don't hear them as often. I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong about this whole thing. Okay, so it turns out that I was wrong. Well, not completely entirely wrong, but kind of sort of wrong. What happened was I had recorded that narration 3 weeks ago. I just didn't feel comfortable with the information that I gave. You see, I based that entire narration off of one little eensy-weensy tiny article. It wasn't even an article. It was just a small memory from 1927. So I decided to go to the Parliament of Pointe-Claire City Hall to see Madame Thibault. Madame Thibault was suggested to me as she is the keeper and understander of all things bylaw. So Madame Thibault graciously accepted me into her office, and on her desk was a beautiful collection of ancient Pointe-Claire documents. Whoop! What I wanted to know, because what I found in 1927 was an article in the newspaper where the citizens came to City Hall complaining. So I didn't know the end of the story.
The end of the story
is that it passed. And it's bylaw 111.
Exactly.
Okay.
The city answered by this bylaw.
And that bylaw was passed on April 2nd of 1928 at 8:15 p.m. Now, for all things to be proud about in Pointe-Claire, to be proud that we banned train whistles, I don't know. But what if we were one of the first communities to do it here in the West Island? Something? The whistle was for security.
Yeah.
But now we're saying...
C'est pas juste pour dire, hey!
No, just no whistle. But what if there's a cow, a child, a goat?
That's really interesting that you say cow before children.
So on June 1st of 1928, Pointe-Claire sent this bylaw, bylaw 111, to the Canadian Pacific Railway Company. Well, I think that they found this bylaw request to be a little extreme.
Il dit on peut pas.
Et c'est dangereux.
Oui, c'est ça.
It's
Pour
dangerous.
des raisons de sécurité, on peut pas comply with your bylaws.
So Strathmore Station apparently at that time had no protection. Valois Avenue and Cool Breeze Avenue both had wigwag signals, and St. John's Road had no protection. In addition to that, farmers did have their own kind of level crossings, which meant that they found this suggestion to be incredibly dangerous.
Excepté lorsqu'absolument nécessaire comme un signal de danger.
Okay, this is really interesting. So what happened was, there was a compromise. So A.D. Cartwright Esquire, the secretary of the BRC, he saw the dangers of having no whistling within the borders of Pointe-Claire, especially with all these level crossings and all these farms, and not to mention the increase in population that's happening. So what he said was, on the understanding that we want to cancel all whistles, He's trying to compromise by saying, fine, between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m., no whistles. However, if a bylaw is passed, whistling will still require to be done in what might be termed emergency cases. And moreover, there are occasions when it is necessary to exchange signals between passing trains.
Ce genre de règlement-là, it's unusual. Les règlements municipaux, c'est le reflet de la vie, c'est le reflet de la société dans laquelle on vit, c'est le reflet de l'époque.
The bylaw 111,
Yes.
for train whistles,
is
still in effect.
Yeah.
Which means that if there's a new conductor of a train, they have to be taught that when they leave the border of Dorval, you cannot press that button.
No, exactly.
Because of bylaw
Yeah.
111. So there you have it, and that's why you probably don't hear too many choo-choos along with the chugga-chuggas that we hear almost every 25 minutes or so. Now, what about where you live? Do you hear a lot of train whistles? Maybe that has been prohibited in your town as well, or your city. But the point is that we have a better story and understanding about why we don't hear these train whistles. I'd like to extend a big thank you to the City of Pointe-Claire, City Hall, the Archives Department, the archivist at the Archives Department, and of course, Madame Thibault for facilitating this whole engagement. Because now, with this, I can confidently say that we have a more complete story about bylaw 111 and the train whistles here in Pointe-Claire. I think.